The 2015 Ford Everest. Say hello to what is potentially the best true SUV Ford has ever made, the 2015 Everest. Just try not to fall in love. Sadly, the American automaker isn't bringing this body-on-frame, solid rear axle, diesel-powered SUV to the States. Nope, it's strictly for our friends in China, Australia, New Zealand, India, and the southern parts of Africa. The Everest has actually been around for some time now, starting life in 2003. Like it's always been, the SUV is based on the Global Ranger pickup truck platform, another vehicle we don't get stateside. Ford is making the Everest more competitive than ever, with, of course, its off-road capabilities, but also its on-road refinement and interior amenities. Included are such things as autonomous emergency braking, lane departure warning, lane keeping aid, blind spot monitoring, cross-traffic alert, and curve control. That last part helps keep the top-heavy SUV right side up when entering a corner too hot. Also present is Ford's terrain management system that includes settings for normal, snow, gravel, grass, and sand and rock. It adjusts the engine's throttle response, the transmission, traction control, and four-wheel drive system. The part-time transfer case also includes a low range while the rear axle has an electronic locking differential. Needless to say, the Everest isn't joking around about its abilities. Ford slathers the icing on the cake with two diesel engine choices, one being a 2.2-liter Duratorque 4-cylinder and the other a 3.2-liter Duratorque 5-cylinder. A 2.0-liter 4-cylinder EcoBoost is offered as well. Click past the jump to read more about the Ford Everest. Exterior. All those looks are backed up by actual off-road versatility. The appearance of the Everest is ruggedly handsome. Tall ground clearance matched with meaty tires helps set the groundwork while the front fascia gets its own skid plate type design. A large chrome grille with matching chrome accents adds style to the entire body. A similar skid plate design resides out back, helping give the SUV a proper appearance. All those looks are backed up by actual off-road versatility. It boasts an impressive 29-degree approach angle and a 25-degree departure angle with nearly 9 inches of ground clearance and a fording depth of over 30 inches. Interior. The driver's gauge cluster gets a center analog gauge with twin screen flanking either side. Things inside are rather luxurious for such an off-road bruiser. 3 rows of seating offer room for 7 and the rear 2 rows fold flat for enlarging the cargo area. A down-to-business dashboard is accented by an 8-inch infotainment screen complete with Sync 2. The driver's gauge cluster gets a center analog gauge with twin screen flanking either side. The center console is home to the terrain management knob, the gear selector, buttons for the traction control, locking differential, and four-wheel drive low range. 2 USB ports, a aux line in port, and a SD card slot live in the front storage bin. 2 12-volt power ports keep other electronics charged. Drivetrain. Like the US spec Ford Explorer, the terrain management system controls a ton of driveline parameters that help the SUV move down the trail. Under the Everest's hood lies 3 engine options and 2 transmission choices. The single gasoline option is the same 2.0-liter EcoBoost found in the US spec Ford Fusion. Next is the 2.2-liter Duratorque 4-cylinder diesel and the more powerful 3.2-liter Duratorque 5-cylinder diesel. All 3 engines can be mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission or a 6-speed manual. Yes, you can get an Everest with 3 pedals. No output numbers have been announced yet. Helping things move along is the sophisticated four-wheel drive system. Like the US spec Ford Explorer, the terrain management system controls a ton of driveline parameters that help the SUV move down the trail. Everything from throttle response to traction control and ABS are all routed through the system. A push-button low range offers extra torque to the wheels when the going gets tough. An electronic locking rear differential keeps both rear tires turning at the same speed. Suspension. The Everest uses an unconventional but highly effective Watts-Link suspension stabilization bar to keep the rear axle from moving sideways. A 4-link setup holds the axle fore and aft. Lastly, coil springs hold the Everest's rear up. Up front, a conventional coil-over-shock system and double wishbone control arms keep things off the ground. Prices. Ford has yet to release pricing on the 2015 Everest, but we'll update you as soon as the numbers drop. Competition. Toyota 4Runner. The 4Runner shares much of the same architecture design with the Everest: body-on-frame, independent front suspension, live-solid axle out back, robust four-wheel drive system, and a tall ground clearance. Sadly, our US spec 4Runner doesn't come with a diesel option. Its only powertrain is the ubiquitous 4.0-liter V6 that makes 270 horsepower and 278 pound-feet of torque. A 5-speed automatic is the only transmission option. Pricing for the 4Runner starts at $32,820 and rises up past the $45,000 mark. Nissan Xterra. Like the 4Runner, the Xterra is a rugged, body-on-frame SUV with four-wheel drive, a solid rear axle, and a V6 powerplant. Unlike the 4Runner and Everest, the Xterra doesn't come with a third row, so passenger count is limited to 5. Under the Nissan's hood is a similar mill to the Toyota's. It's a 4.0-liter V6 that puts out 261 horsepower and 281 pound-feet of torque. A 5-speed automatic transmission or a 6-speed manual transmission is available. Pricing for the Xterra starts at a much cheaper $23,110 but doesn't include four-wheel drive. You'll spend at least $25,160 to get that. Prices for the top-line Pro4X with the automatic exceeds the $31,000 mark. Conclusion. The Ford Everest is one heck of an SUV. It's got all the right parts and pedigree for the makings of a solid off-roader. While we commend Ford for continuing to build such a vehicle, we can't help but wish it was headed our way. We can blame things like emissions and safety standards, along with Ford's own saturated SUV crossover market here in the States. Those looking for something like this from the Blue Oval will have to settle with either the softened Explorer or the too big to off-road Expedition. And that's a shame, because the Everest seems like the perfect combination of ingredients. Love it. A great example of what an SUV should be: diesel and manual combo. Take my money. Plenty of modern amenities and features. Leave it not coming to the US. No word on engine outputs and pricing. Needs more accessible tow hooks front and rear.
If you liked this video, please share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.